Even when your body doesn't feel different and your soul still carries the weight of unspoken pain, God's healing is already unfolding in the unseen. This morning is not asking for your effort, it's inviting your trust. The ache you carry may not scream as loud today, but it hums beneath everything, a quiet reminder of wounds you've begged God to heal, yet still feel pulsing under your breath. You've prayed, you've meditated, you've believed, and still silence, still soreness that doesn't explain itself. You're tired of hoping and being disappointed. You want to believe again, but your soul flinches at the quiet. Yet this stillness is where divine power works most intimately. Pope Leo XV once said, "Healing often arrives like dew, not thunder, and dew doesn't announce itself. It gathers in stillness while no one's looking." That is God's message today. You are not forgotten in your delay. You are being tended to in the places no one sees. What feels like delay is not denial, it's divine preparation. Isaiah 53:5 says, "By his wounds we are healed." That healing was secured long before you felt anything. It is not delayed, it is not weak, it is steady, sacred, and rooted in the cross, not in your ability to measure progress. The God who promises healing did not tie that promise to your emotions or your spiritual performance. He tied it to a finished act, a perfect payment. Psalm 91:4 reminds you, "He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust." Today you are under his wings, not because you earned it, but because you belong there. This is not punishment. This is not failure. This is the holy quiet where God rebuilds you. What looks like silence is actually sacred surgery. What feels like a standstill is deep work. The power that raised Christ from the dead is not intimidated by what hurts in you. It is cradling you now, whispering, "You are still mine, and I am still healing you." Let divine power begin again, without pressure, without proof, just trust. Let this be your meditation. Even when I don't see it, I trust you are restoring me from within. You're not being asked to fake peace. You're being invited to sit in God's presence until peace starts to settle over your spirit like warm breath on a winter window. You don't have to explain your pain again. Jesus has already entered the room where your suffering lives. You don't have to strive. You don't have to fix yourself. Just receive. God is not waiting for your strength. He's responding to your surrender. You are not being overlooked. You are being remade. Ask yourself, what part of me still aches the loudest? And can I place it into God's hands again this morning? Have I been measuring healing through emotion instead of trust? What would it look like to rest beneath God's wings today instead of trying to earn my way forward? He shall cover thee with his feathers. Psalm 91:4. By his wounds I am healed. Isaiah 53:5. Come unto me, all ye that labor, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. If this prayer whispered peace into the places you've stopped hoping, pause right now. Say aloud, God, I trust your healing, even when I can't feel it. And gently share this with someone still waiting. You're not alone under these wings. Even when your body doesn't feel different and your soul still carries the weight of unspoken pain, God's healing is already unfolding in the unseen. This morning is not asking for your effort. It's inviting your trust. The ache you carry may not scream as loud today, but it hums beneath everything. A quiet reminder of wounds you've begged God to heal, yet still feel pulsing under your breath. You've prayed, you've meditated, you've believed, and still silence. Still soreness that doesn't explain itself. You're tired of hoping and being disappointed. You want to believe again, but your soul flinches at the quiet. Yet this stillness is where divine power works most intimately. Pope Leo XIV once said, "Healing often arrives like dew, not thunder, and dew doesn't announce itself. It gathers in stillness while no one's looking." That is God's message today. You are not forgotten in your delay. You are being tended to in the places no one sees. What feels like delay is not denial, it's divine preparation. Isaiah 53:5 says, "By his wounds we are healed." That healing was secured long before you felt anything. It is not delayed. It is not weak. It is steady, sacred, and rooted in the cross, not in your ability to measure progress. The God who promises healing did not tie that promise to your emotions or your spiritual performance. He tied it to a finished act, a perfect payment. Psalm 91:4 reminds you, "He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust." Today you are under his wings, not because you earned it, but because you belong there. This is not punishment. This is not failure. This is the holy quiet where God rebuilds you. What looks like silence is actually sacred surgery. What feels like a standstill is deep work. The power that raised Christ from the dead is not intimidated by what hurts in you. It is cradling you now, whispering, "You are still mine, and I am still healing you." Let divine power begin again, without pressure, without proof, just trust. There are mornings when the ache speaks louder than your hope, when you wonder if maybe this is just how things will always be, when the numbness has lasted longer than expected and the prayers begin to feel like echoes in a canyon. But God's message today is deeper than your pain. What you feel is not all that is real. Healing doesn't always enter with fanfare. Sometimes it comes dressed like fatigue. Sometimes it hides behind that same dull ache. But underneath the bruise, restoration is working like seed in soil, quiet, unseen, but alive. Isaiah 61 reminds us that God gives beauty for ashes, not by sweeping away the ashes, but by transforming them from the inside out. And that transformation rarely feels miraculous while it's happening. It feels ordinary. It feels like surviving another day. It feels like brushing your teeth while your heart still breaks. But God is in that too. Divine power doesn't require your awareness to work. It only requires your availability. The psalmist says, "He restores my soul." That restoration is not a performance. It's a promise. So if you feel buried under symptoms, under silence, under weariness, know this. Seeds break before they bloom. Roots grow before leaves appear. And your soul is not failing. It's forming. This is holy ground, even if it feels hollow. You are not behind schedule. You are not doing it wrong. You are simply in the tender, hidden part of the healing, and God is not rushing you through it. He's remaining with you in it. Pope Leo the Catholic once said, "It is not the loud faith that moves mountains. It is the quiet one that doesn't quit." Let your stillness speak faith today. Let your breath be your agreement with the divine. And when it hurts to hope, just whisper, "But I trust you still." That whisper carries more power than you know. What if my feelings are not the full measure of God's work today? How can I honor the hidden process of healing without forcing visible progress? Am I willing to believe that God is near, even when I feel nothing? He restores my soul. Psalm 23:3, beauty for ashes. Isaiah 61:3, we walk by faith, not by sight. If this moment helped you breathe again, take one more deep breath and say, "I believe you healing what I can't see." Then send this to someone who feels forgotten by their process. You are not buried, you are planted, and healing is already reaching for the light. Waiting is a sacred ache that often disguises itself as silence. This morning, as you breathe into this space of morning prayer, know that your waiting is not wasted. God's message today is not a denial, but a delay full of divine intention. You may have cried, "Why not now, Lord?" when pain lingered longer than expected. Healing that doesn't come quickly often feels like abandonment, but Scripture says in Jeremiah 30:17, "I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds." It is not a maybe, it is a promise, and promises take root beneath the soil long before fruit appears on the surface. Meditation opens your soul to sit quietly in this spiritual waiting room, not anxious, but attentive. Pope Leo XIV once noted that the holiest places are often the slowest places. Perhaps God is not rushing your restoration because He is healing more than what hurts. He is healing what was hidden. The child inside you that never heard, you are safe now. The wound beneath your smile that never stopped bleeding. The memory you stopped revisiting because it still stung. In this quiet, divine power moves in secret chambers of the soul, doing what medicine and logic cannot. Waiting isn't weakness, it's worship in disguise. Your stillness is not an absence of movement, but the posture of surrender. God's message today is not, no, but not yet, because I love you too deeply to rush what I'm making whole. Even the memories you avoid, the ache you can't name, the strength you pretend to carry, God sees it all, and He's not impatient. He's intentional. Romans 8:28 wasn't written for your highlight reel. It was written for the hallway, the in-between, the ache that asks, will this ever shift? And God's answer is yes, in my way. Yes, in my timing. Yes, in my presence. The waiting room isn't a prison, it's a sanctuary. He sits with you there, not tapping His foot, but holding your hand. Not asking you to be strong, but simply to stay. And when healing does come, and it will, you'll realize the wait didn't delay the miracle, it grew it. Let today's meditation be this. Waiting is not wasted time. It is wound time. It is God's sacred chamber of transformation. Just because you cannot measure your healing doesn't mean it isn't happening. What if this waiting is sacred, not stagnant? Can I stay open to God's healing even if it looks nothing like I expected? How is God preparing the parts of me that never got to rest? I will restore health unto thee. Jeremiah 30:17. All things work together for good. Romans 8:28. The Lord is good unto them that wait for Him. Lamentations 3:25. Take a breath. Whisper, God, I trust you in the waiting. Let that confession become your courage. Then pass it on. Someone else needs this hallway hope too. You are not waiting alone. Mercy waits with you. Meditation is not spiritual anesthesia. It's not a way to numb what hurts or mute what's messy. It's a holy threshold, a quiet crossing from your chaos into God's calm. This morning, let your stillness become sacred, not silence for the sake of noise avoidance, but silence as an invitation. You are not being asked to empty your mind. You are being invited to fill your soul with the presence of the one who knows every hidden ache. Psalm 23 doesn't say the shepherd drives you forward. It says He makes you lie down. Not because you've earned rest, but because you need it. Divine power doesn't need your striving. It needs your surrender. That is where the healing begins. Inhale, exhale. In the stillness, distractions peel back, and what's buried begins to breathe. That unresolved grief, that lingering fear, that ache in your soul that sleep never softens, all of it becomes visible, not to shame you, but to show you what God already sees. You are not too much for Him. You are not too broken. This is not escape, it's encounter. Not retreat, but return. What if that sharp memory is surfacing not to torment you, but to be touched by God? What if the stillness is not sterile, but sacred? In the hush, the inner noise rises, and so does grace. Pope Leo XIV once said, "The silence that heals is not quiet. It is full of God." That's what you're entering. Psalm 91 teaches that those who dwell in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under His shadow. Meditation takes you there, not as a technique, but as trust. Your racing thoughts don't disqualify you. They are simply invitations. Each one becomes a doorway to surrender. Each fear that surfaces in stillness is something God already saw and still chose you. He doesn't need you to perform. He wants you to pause. not to prove anything, but to receive everything. This is not a detour from pain. It is a doorway into divine presence. The stillness is not empty. It is alive, and God is already inside of it, doing what only divine power can do. What would it look like to enter, not escape, through meditation today? Am I willing to release control to let God speak in stillness? How can silence become sacred in my healing journey? He that dwelleth in the secret place shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Psalm 23:2. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Take a sacred pause. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Whisper, God, I let you in. And if something settled in your soul, share this prayer with someone still trying to fight what they should be resting into. Stillness is not absence. It's the arrival of healing. This morning, as you sit in your quiet place, you are not alone. The ache in your heart joins a chorus of silent cries across the world. Unseen wounds, invisible losses, and prayers whispered through trembling lips. Some have lost homes, others have lost hope. Some carry bruises the world ignores. Some carry emptiness they cannot name, and though your pain is personal, it is never isolated. In the heart of God, all suffering converges, not for judgment, but for healing. This morning prayer becomes an altar, not just for you, but for the broken world. And so we pray. Lord, we lift to you all who suffer in silence today. For the innocent caught in storms they never chose. For every heart shattered by violence, every body trembling with fear, every soul stripped of peace. Cover them, O God, with your mercy. Bind up the brokenhearted. Let your mercy press back the shadow where hatred has stolen breath. You are not a God of sides, but of sanctuary. You are not a God of punishment, but of presence. Restore what war has shattered. Restore what hate has wounded. Restore what the world cannot heal. Be near. Be peace. Be all. Let your prayer stretch its arms wider today. Let your meditation reach across trauma, across injustice, across oceans and borders. Psalm 91 doesn't only cover your pain, it covers the world's wounds. In war zones, hospitals, refugee tents, prison cells, and sleepless homes, God's wings are there. This is the mystery and might of divine power. It holds the individual and the multitude. It hears your whispered, God, help me, and the cries of those who have no language for prayer. God, help me, and the cries of those who have no language for prayer. In this stillness, become an intercessor. In your breath, become a vessel of mercy. Pope Leo XIV once wrote, "The world is not healed by policy, but by prayer, and that prayer begins with you, here, now, in your breath, in your tears, in your willingness to believe that God's healing is not just for you, but for humanity." Let this be the miracle of your morning, that the same God who tends to your ache is tending to theirs, that as you breathe, someone else receives, that as you cry, someone else finds comfort. Compassion is not weakness, it's a divine fire. And healing never stops with us. It flows through us. How can my personal healing open space for the world's healing too? What hidden part of me resists carrying pain that isn't mine? And can I surrender it? How is God inviting me to be a vessel of peace today? He healeth the broken in heart, and bindeth up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. He shall cover thee with his feathers. Psalm 91:4. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Matthew 5:9. Pause now, whisper a name, or even just, Lord, heal the world. Let that moment be enough. Let it be powerful. If your heart softened today, share this prayer as a ripple of mercy. Healing is rising. Peace is still possible. And you are already part of God's sacred movement. You may long for healing to arrive in fireworks, with clarity and speed, with proof you can point to. But Pope Leo XIV, in his quiet wisdom, once reflected, healing often arrives like morning dew, not loud, not instant, but faithful. The dew doesn't ask your permission to fall. It appears in silence, over time, doing its work quietly on every thirsty leaf. That is how God's message moves through your pain today, not as a command, but as a covering. You may wake up wondering why you still feel tired, why your soul still limps. But just as the dew doesn't shout its arrival, divine power doesn't always announce its movement. It simply is, still flowing, still surrounding, still enough. You don't need lightning to know God is near. You don't need a dramatic shift to know you're being healed. This morning, let the dew speak for itself. Psalm 23 says, "He restoreth my soul," but it doesn't say how fast. It only promises that restoration is real. You are not on the outside of God's process. You are immersed in it. Meditation becomes the soft soil where the dew is most effective. When you stop, when you breathe, when you choose stillness over speed, you allow divine power to touch what's been brittle, frayed, and exhausted. You may still wake with aches, your body may not feel different, your mood may still flicker like a candle in wind. But that does not mean healing is absent. It means healing is slow and sacred. Just because God is quiet doesn't mean He is absent. You're not failing if you haven't seen change. You're faithful for still showing up. That alone is a sign. You haven't been abandoned, you've been sustained. Faith is not always seen in mountains moved. Sometimes it's found in the one who stays. And you're still here. Am I open to receiving healing in gentle, unnoticed ways today? How might I stop measuring my progress by pain alone? What signs of soft restoration have I missed because I was looking for thunder? He restoreth my soul. My strength is made perfect in weakness. My strength is made perfect in weakness. Psalm Corinthians 12:9. The Lord is near to all them that call upon Him. The Lord is near to all them that call upon Him. Psalm 145:18. Whisper gently, God, I trust the healing that doesn't need to be loud. Let your day be shaped by softness. And if this prayer steadied your spirit, send it to someone discouraged by the quiet. Remind them, dew always falls where it's needed. There are places inside you where your own hands cannot go, wounds too deep for logic, memories too tangled for words, fears too persistent to reason with. And in those places, the ache becomes sacred, not because it's good, but because it draws you toward the one who can reach. This morning prayer is your whisper in that direction. Jesus, work in the places I can't reach. That sentence alone is worship. It is surrender. It is meditation and faith in one breath. You don't have to understand everything to receive divine power. You only need to release what you've been gripping, the parts of your soul that no therapist, friend, or even prayer formula can fully access. He already sees them. And He's not asking you to fix those places. He's asking you to let Him in. Isaiah 53:5 tells us, by His wounds we are healed, and the beauty of that promise is that it requires no striving on your part. It was finished before your struggle began. Your healing does not depend on your perfection. It flows from His. You may have been sleepless over what seems unfixable. But Jesus doesn't knock like the world does. He doesn't flinch at your mess or wait for you to clean up. He draws near, precisely because you can. This is not about feeling something instantly, it's about knowing something eternally. Jesus is already in the places your hands can't reach, your mind can't fix, and your memory can't untangle. Let Him be the Savior in the deep, not just the surface. When He comes, He doesn't critique, He covers. He doesn't inspect, He restores. Pope Leo XIV once said that God moves most deeply in the surrendered spaces, where nothing is forced and everything is offered. There's no need to strive today. Just whisper what Leo once called the most powerful invitation in the human language. Come, Lord Jesus. Come into the anxiety I hide. Come into the betrayal I still carry. Come into the shame I can't shake. Romans 8:26 reminds us, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. Even when you don't have the words, your sighs are sacred. This is where healing begins, not in your strength, but in your surrender. God's message today is this: nothing inside you is beyond my reach, so breathe. You are not alone in your depth. The deeper you go, the more of Him you'll find there. Where in me do I feel helpless, and can I trust God to meet me there? What if healing doesn't begin with effort, but with invitation? Have I made room for Jesus in the quiet corners, or only the presentable ones? By His wounds I am healed. Isaiah 53:5. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Psalm 139:23. The Spirit helps us in our weakness. In Romans 8:26, whisper now, Jesus, work in the places I can't reach. Let that be your sacred breath today. And if it helped you exhale even a little, pass it to someone silently holding too much. God meets us not at the edge of strength, but in the heart of surrender. Healing begins there. You were never meant to hold your healing together with clenched fists and exhausted prayers. Healing does not begin when you feel strong. It begins when you stop trying to be. This morning you are invited to release, not because you failed, but because you were never meant to carry this weight alone. Set down your effort, your logic, and your disappointment, not because they're wrong, but because they're too heavy to carry into the holy. Isaiah 53:5 centers you in a truth that undoes performance. By His wounds we are healed, not by how fervently you pray, not by how long you've waited, not by how strong your faith feels, but by what Jesus already bore. His wounds, not your strength, are the foundation of your restoration, and that changes everything. Your tears do not delay the miracle. Your fatigue does not cancel the promise. Your doubt does not disqualify the grace. You're not being asked to feel better. You're being asked to trust deeper. That means you can lay down the measuring stick. Stop checking for progress every hour. Stop trying to earn with effort what was already secured with blood. This morning prayer isn't about stirring yourself into belief. It's about resting in what has already been done. Your role is not to achieve healing. It is to receive it. Meditation becomes holy ground here, not because it stirs belief, but because it stills the part of you that thinks healing is your responsibility. A soft place where strength is not required and tears are welcome. Some days you might feel like a walking contradiction, trusting and tired, faithful and frustrated, hopeful and hurting, and that's okay. Healing lives in the tension. Pope Leo XIV wrote, "Grace is not fragile. It flows strongest through the cracks we hide. Your cracks are not shameful. They're sacred. They are where the light gets in. They are where the blood reaches deepest. They are where divine power does its quiet work. You're not a broken project. You are a beloved soul in the care of the healer. Even your weakness, your numbness, your confusion, they are not barriers. They are the doorways to encounter. And Jesus is already there, touching what you've tried so hard to fix. This is not about striving to be fixed. It's about letting the cross carry what's been crushing you. Let the truth of the cross rise above your thoughts. Let the words, "It is finished," become more than theology. They are your new reality. Where have I been trying to earn the healing Jesus already paid for? What might I discover if I rest in God's finished work today? How would it feel to let the cross carry what's crushing me? By His stripes I am healed. My grace is sufficient for thee. My grace is sufficient for thee. John 19:30. Take one deep breath and whisper, I receive what Jesus already finished. It is let that truth settle deeper than your doubt, and if it lifted a burden from your soul, gently send this prayer to someone still striving for what Christ already paid for. Healing isn't earned, it's inherited through love. Some mornings you wake up full of faith, others you wake up flat, numb, tired of hoping. Today might be one of those days, and that's okay. Divine power does not depend on your feelings. It doesn't rise and fall with your emotions. It simply is, steady, certain, unshaken. Psalm 91 doesn't say, "He shall cover you when you feel spiritual." It declares, "He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust." That's a promise grounded in who he is, not how you feel. You don't need goosebumps to know you're covered. You don't need tears to prove you're close. God isn't moved by your emotional temperature. He's anchored in eternal covenant. Meditation becomes holy when it helps you let truth lead where feelings fail. This morning, let go of trying to feel your way into faith. Trust is not a sensation, it's surrender. Pope Leo XIV once said, "The silence of the soul is not spiritual death, it is the deep breath before resurrection." And maybe that's what this moment is for you. Not absence, but pause. Not distance, but depth. Let this be your permission to stop measuring your spiritual life by your emotions. You are not less faithful because you don't feel on fire. You're not disqualified because your prayers feel dry. God's grace doesn't require emotional confirmation. It only asks for honesty. Even a sigh is sacred. Even stillness is worship. Divine power flows not just through passion, but through presence. It moves in the quiet, in the repetition, in the days when faith is a flicker and not a Romans 8:28 still applies, even on days when you feel nothing. Psalm 91 still holds true, even when your soul is tired. Hebrews 13:5 still stands. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. God is still with you, still covering you, still healing you. Not because you feel it, but because he promised. You don't have to stir something up. You only have to stay open today. Let this be your meditation. God, I trust you even when I feel nothing. That trust, even cracked, even whispered, is enough. What would it mean to trust God without waiting to feel God? Have I let emotion determine how close I believe God is? How might I let truth, not feelings, lead this healing journey? He shall cover thee with his feathers. Psalm 91:4. All things work together for good. Romans 8:28. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Hebrews 13:5. Whisper it now. God, I trust you even when I feel nothing. And if that gave your soul a place to rest, share it with someone walking quietly through their own valley. Divine power is not ruled by emotion. It is ruled by love. And love never fails. There is no divine stopwatch timing your progress, no heavenly scoreboard ranking your breakthrough. And yet the lie lingers. You should be further along by now. It clings to your sleepless moments. It haunts your quiet prayers. It makes you question whether healing has bypassed you, or whether you've disappointed God by being slow to mend. But this morning, hear the deeper truth. You are not behind. Divine power does not operate on your clock. Healing is not a race. It's not a performance. It's a process soaked in mercy, not milestones. Psalm 23 reminds us, He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Still waters do not rush. Restoration does not panic. The shepherd of your soul is not shaming you for how long it's taken. He's walking at your pace, pausing when you weep, kneeling when you collapse, singing when you can't speak. God's message today isn't disappointment, it's devotion. His care doesn't quicken when you get it together. It remains steady and strong through every slow, silent step. If healing takes time, it's because time itself is sacred to God. Pope Leo XIV once taught that divine timing is not postponement, it is perfect preparation. What feels delayed is often God deepening the roots of your wholeness so that the healing lasts. You are not being overlooked, you are being tended to. Meditation helps rewire the belief that fast means faithful. It teaches you to unlearn hurry, to quiet the inner clock, and to listen to the rhythm of grace. Healing doesn't need speed, it needs space, it needs presence. You're not behind, you're becoming. Even if your prayers feel weak or your trust feels thin, God is not grading you, He is holding you. Isaiah 42:3 assures us, "A bruised reed shall He not break." That includes you, tired, tender, still here. Jesus is not waiting for your sprint, He is blessing your stillness. Your role is not to prove anything, it is to stay close. Whisper now, "I'm not behind. I'm healing in God's time." Let that truth loosen the part of you still rushing. You are right on time. For your story, for your soul, for your Savior. What expectations have I placed on myself that God never asked me to carry? How would my soul respond if I truly believed I was on time with God? What pressure can I release today that grace already covered? He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23:3. A bruised reed shall He not break. Isaiah 42:3. The Lord is not slow in keeping His promise. 2 Peter 3:9. Say it softly. I'm not behind. I'm healing in God's time. Let that truth unclench what anxiety has tightened. If this prayer lifted even one weight off your spirit, pass it along to someone else feeling delayed. There's no race here, only grace. Healing doesn't always arrive in the form of escape. Sometimes it looks like God pulling out a chair in the middle of your storm and saying, "Sit, I've been expecting you." Psalm 23:5 whispers a radical truth. "Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies," not after the enemies are gone, not when everything is fixed, but right there, while fear still lingers, while regret still echoes, while your wounds still feel fresh. And yet, God sets the table anyway. You may not feel whole. You may feel surrounded by pain, doubt, or silence, but the invitation stands, not because you've conquered your emotions, but because you showed up. You brought your ache into the stillness. You came into the light. That alone opens space for the sacred. Pope Leo XIV once said, "The table of God is not reserved for the unscarred. It is set for the weary who dare to stay." Divine power isn't only about removing what hurts. Sometimes it's about feeding you in the midst of it. That's the miracle. Not escape, but endurance. Not deliverance alone, but divine presence that nourishes your soul while the battle still surrounds you. And what's on that table? Peace for your panic, oil for your wounds, bread for your emptiness, cup for your thirst, a seat for your shaking. The enemies may be watching, fear, shame, despair, but they cannot feast. Only you can. Only the one invited. God isn't waiting for the fight to be over before He nourishes you. He is the table, the host, the portion. He spreads a feast of comfort not when you feel better, but when you feel most broken. Meditation helps you stay long enough to taste what's been prepared. Not just answers, but God Himself. He is the bread. He is the rest. He is the healing that enters bite by bite, breath by breath. The table isn't a reward, it's a refuge. This morning, whisper this truth aloud. God, I receive the portion you've prepared for me today. Let it settle your spirit and unclench your striving. You are not too broken to belong here. You are not too late. The table was always for the healing, not just the healed. What healing might I receive if I dared to sit in the middle of my pressure? Can I believe that God is offering nourishment even while I still feel surrounded? What fears try to pull me away from the peace God has already prepared? Thou preparest a table before me. Psalm 23:5. My cup runneth over. Psalm 23:5. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Psalm 34:8. Whisper it again. God, I receive the portion you've prepared for me today. If it gave you peace, pass it on to someone who's forgotten their welcome at the table. There's healing waiting. And no one dines alone. There is a type of pain that doesn't show up in tests. It lingers in the soul, quietly stealing your breath in the middle of the night. It's the pain that therapy can't fully name, that prescriptions only mute, that explanations keep missing. And yet, God sees it all. Divine power reaches beyond every diagnosis into the unspoken ache that lives beneath your smile. This morning, you are not being asked to try harder. You are being invited deeper into the mystery of divine restoration. Psalm 91 paints the picture. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. Those wings stretch where no procedure can reach. They don't just fix what's broken, they shield what's sacred. And you are sacred. Pope Leo XIV once said, "What the body forgets, the heart remembers. And what the heart cannot bear, heaven hold." This morning, let your unhealed places come to the surface, not to be solved, but to be soothed, not to be judged, but to be gently seen by the one who restores what no medicine ever could. There are hurts that doctors can't diagnose, wounds that medicine doesn't see, pain that lives not in your bones, but in your story. You may have tried everything, therapy, pills, routines, even silence, and still feel like something inside remains shattered. But divine power begins where human power ends, and the moment you invite God into that silence, healing begins. Not always as relief, but as restoration. Restoration of joy, restoration of identity, restoration of peace that medicine was never designed to deliver. Meditation becomes holy when it slows the rush to resolution and makes space for presence. Not the kind of presence that demands explanation, but the kind that simply stays. You may have said, "I've tried everything," but have you exhaled into this truth? God can restore what nothing else touched. Not because medicine failed, but because God's healing was never limited to human tools. Let this be your moment of release. Let this breath carry you toward peace. God is already moving where human answers stopped. Quietly, faithfully, what hidden pain have I silently carried, believing it was beyond healing? Am I willing to believe that God is moving, even when I can't explain how? How can I open the quiet places of my soul to God's tender presence today? He shall cover thee with his feathers, Psalm 91:4. I will restore health unto thee. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted, Psalm 34:18. Whisper softly, God, restore what nothing else could. And if something shifted in your soul, even slightly past this prayer to someone who's quietly hurting, divine restoration is already on the move, right where human answers stopped. In a world obsessed with quick fixes and instant results, slow healing can feel like failure. But in the kingdom of God, slow is sacred. This morning, breathe into that deeper truth. Healing comes slowly, and that's holy. You may be frustrated by how long it's taking. You may compare your pace to others. You may wonder if you're doing something wrong. But there is nothing wrong with you for needing time. Time is not the enemy of healing. It's the cradle of it. Psalm 23 says, He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Stillness is his pace. Restoration is his promise. And neither requires you to rush. There is no stopwatch in heaven's hand. Divine power does not panic. It is never late. Pope Leo XIV, who once reflected that the holiest healings are the ones that grow like trees, layered, rooted, slow, and strong. And sometimes, the longer it takes, the deeper it goes. The Spirit works in the silence, in the repetition, in the ache that refuses to be hurried. You are not being punished for your pace. You are being prepared for sustainability. You are not delayed. You are being developed. Meditation returns you to this rhythm. It pulls you out of performance and back into presence, into breath, into grace, into the truth that what God is forming within you will not crumble. It will hold. It will last. It will testify. Some of the most enduring transformations take time. Think of the oak, think of the seasons, think of how God restores, not in flashes, but in layers. And maybe today you're not meant to rush forward. Maybe you're just meant to rest and let roots go deeper. If it's slow, it's because God is making it sustainable. If it's quiet, it's because He's working beneath what others see. Whisper now, God, I will not rush what you are healing. Let those words settle like peace over your holiness often walks slowly. And so does healing. And both are happening in you. Have I mistaken divine timing for spiritual failure? What would change in me if I honored the slowness of God's process? Can I begin to see the pace of my healing as a sign of its depth? He restoreth my soul, Psalm 23:3. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, Isaiah 40:31. Who also will do it, 1 Thessalonians 5:24. Whisper again, God, I will not rush what you are healing. Let those words become your quiet agreement with heaven's pace. And if they gave your soul room to breathe, pass this prayer to someone else still questioning their slowness. Tell them, slow isn't stuck. It's sacred. You don't have to wait for everything to be fixed before you exhale. Healing doesn't begin with a miracle. It begins with a breath. Not a deep theological understanding, not the perfect prayer, just one holy inhale. This morning, let that breath be your beginning. Let this be the day you stop bracing for impact. Let it be the day you unclench the fear, the grief, the trying too hard. Let this be the moment you breathe again, not because the pain is gone, but because you stopped carrying it alone. Psalm 91 says, He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide. That means even your breath belongs. There is sacred space beneath God's wings for sorrow, for silence, for hope that's barely hanging on. You are not required to be strong to breathe deeply. You are only required to show up with breath, with honesty, with whatever remains in you this morning. Divine power does not rush in like a wave. It enters gently, like breath, quiet, steady, and enough. Meditation helps you realign not just your thoughts, but your breath. Inhale peace, exhale pressure. Inhale truth, exhale self-judgment. Lisa Bevere says, when we exhale what's broken, we make room for what's holy. That is what you're doing now. You're making space. Pope Leo XIV once wrote, breath is the first sign of faith, not words. So if you can't speak today, if you can't pray, if your strength is thin, breathe. Let your breath be your surrender. Let it speak what your voice cannot. God gave you breath as a sign of life, and He receives it as worship. You are not too weary for grace. You are not too broken for peace. This morning, healing begins by breathing again. The shepherd isn't asking you to sprint. He's inviting you to walk slowly with Him, to match His pace, to settle under His wings, to receive His breath as your strength. Whisper now, God, I trust you with this breath. That's enough. That's holy. That's healing. What pressure have I been holding that I need to exhale today? How can I let breath become a spiritual act of surrender? Am I willing to trust that even my quietest breaths are heard by God? He that dwelleth in the secret place shall abide. Psalm 91:1. The Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Job 33:4. Let everything that hath breath praise the Lord. Fine. Psalm 156. Close your eyes. Take one slow, deep breath. As you exhale, whisper, God, I trust you with this breath. Let that be your new beginning. And if it helped you soften your shoulders or feel held, share it with someone who's been holding their breath too long. This is the day to breathe again. You are not disqualified from love because you're still healing. That lie that you have to be whole to be worthy has lingered too long. But this morning, grace speaks louder. You don't have to feel whole to be fully loved. Divine love doesn't wait for your completion. It meets you in pieces. Psalm 23 reminds us that the shepherd doesn't wait at the finish line. It says, "He restoreth my soul." Restoration begins before you're ready, while the cracks are still visible, while the ache still hums through your spirit, while the sadness still clings like morning fog, and still, He draws near. Jesus didn't avoid broken people. He sat with them. He wept with them. He healed them, not after they got it together, but because they came just as they were. And this morning, He's doing the same for you. He's not asking you to pretend. He's not waiting for the anxiety to end or the doubt to disappear. He's simply asking you to come. In meditation, your fragmented self is not a problem to be solved. It is a presence to be held. You don't need to silence your sorrow to be seen. You don't need to hide your weariness to be heard. Divine love is not earned by strength. It's received through surrender. Pope Leo XIV once wrote, "God's mercy moves fastest toward what the world tries hardest to hide." So, bring your ache, bring your mess, bring the quiet question, is this enough? And hear heaven answer, yes, you are enough, right now, as you are. The shepherd's love isn't more tomorrow. It isn't more once you've healed. It's already full, already present, already yours. This is the love that restores, not with conditions, but with compassion. It wraps around you. It waits with you. It whispers peace into your most undone places. Let morning prayer be your return to that truth. Let it be where striving stops and love begins again. What part of me still believes I have to earn God's love? How would I live differently if I knew I'm loved in my brokenness? What would it feel like to rest in love today, not effort? He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23:3. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. The Lord is gracious and full of compassion. Psalm 145:8. Gently place your hand over your heart and whisper, "God, thank you for loving me before I felt whole." Let that truth settle where shame once sat. And if it softened you today, share this prayer with someone waiting for perfection before stepping into grace. Remind them, love doesn't wait. Love moves first. Peace doesn't always arrive like a sunrise. Sometimes it seeps in through the cracks. This morning, you may not feel total relief. You may still hear the echo of your pain, but something sacred is already happening. You're feeling peace in pieces, and that is not less holy. It's honest. It's human. It's how divine power works, in fragments that gently fit together over time. Pope Leo XIV once reflected that peace is not a place you reach, it's a person who meets you where you are. And right now, even if you're not fully healed, the Prince of Peace is present. He does not wait for silence to speak. He speaks into the chaos, within the anxiety, beneath the trembling. Psalm 91 says, "He shall cover thee with his feathers." That kind of peace isn't loud, it's layered. You don't need all the answers to experience calm. You don't need all the healing to feel held. This is where meditation helps. It slows your racing thoughts just long enough for peace to find its way in. Not all at once, but in breaths, in images, in whispers. You are not failing because peace hasn't fully settled. You are healing because you've made space for even one soft breath of stillness. Peace doesn't ignore pain. It embraces it with gentleness. Jesus, the Prince of Peace, meets you not at the finish line, but at the frayed edge. He does not wait for your chaos to calm before showing up. He enters it. He breathes peace into the storm, not after it ends, but while it's still raging. Let morning prayer remind you, if peace is only partial today, it is still real. You're not pretending. You're participating in a sacred rebuild. Pope Leo XIV once said, "Peace is not a destination for the strong. It is a visitation for the surrendered." Even shattered light still shines, even scattered grace still covers, and even partial peace still proves that God is present. You are not unfinished, you are unfolding. Let every breath become a brick in your rebuild. You are not where you were, you are not where you will be, but you are here, breathing, receiving, becoming, and that is more than enough. What small signs of peace have I overlooked because I was waiting for more? Can I honor the pieces of peace as holy, even if I don't feel complete? How does it change me to know that peace meets me in the middle of pain? Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. John 14:27, He shall cover thee with His feathers. Psalm 91:4, the Lord will bless His people with peace. Psalm 29:11, elevate your spirit. God, thank you for peace, even in pieces. Let that phrase become your meditation. And if this moment gave you even one breath of calm, share it with someone still searching. Peace doesn't need to be perfect to be present. Surrender doesn't always sound like a cry. Sometimes it sounds like silence, like breath, like the quiet exhale that says, I can't carry this anymore. This morning, you're not asked to strive, you're invited to release. Meditation is not a performance of calm, it is spiritual surrender. It's the space where healing begins, not because you figured it out, but because you finally stopped trying. Psalm 91 says, He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide. That secret place is not a lofty spiritual state. It's the raw, honest stillness where you meet God with nothing but your truth, not your strength, not your plan, just the moment, just the breath, just the ache you're tired of carrying. In this stillness, you're saying, God, even this I give you, the worry, the unanswered questions, the grief you don't know how to name, and that surrender, quiet, trembling, barely whispered, is where divine power flows in. Pope Leo XIV once wrote, true healing begins when the soul stops defending itself. You don't have to explain your weariness to be held in it. You don't have to have poetic words for God to understand your silence. He is not asking for perfect surrender, just real surrender. Meditation becomes your training ground for trust. Not once, but breath by breath. Not loudly, but honestly. In that sacred pause, your spirit finally unclenches. You stop managing what's unmanageable. You stop striving to carry what only grace can hold. And in that quiet, your soul exhales. This is your holy ceasefire, the moment when anxiety no longer commands and peace takes its place. Surrender isn't weakness. It's the strength to say, I can't, but you can. God's message today isn't do more, it's let me. And so you let go, not because it's easy, but because it's time. What am I still holding that God is asking me to surrender? How can meditation become my space for honest release? What would change if I believed God could be trusted with my deepest pain? He that dwelleth in the secret place shall abide. Psalm 91:1. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Proverbs 3:5. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. Isaiah 30:15. Whisper now, God, I give you what I've been trying to hold. Let that quiet act of trust be your worship. And if your shoulders dropped, even just a little, share this with someone still gripping tight. Let them know they don't have to hold it all. God already is. There's a part of you that still believes healing depends on how hard you try. That if you could just pray more passionately, hold yourself together longer, stay positive through the pain, then maybe the breakthrough would finally arrive. But this morning, grace interrupts that pressure with gentleness. Grace says, you don't have to do more. You only have to let me in. Pope Leo XIII once said, let grace do its work. And that's not an invitation to laziness. It's a return to trust. You are not responsible for finishing what only God can fulfill. Grace is not a medal for endurance, it's the atmosphere where healing breathes. Psalm 23 reminds us, "He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake." That means God leads the process, not your timeline, not your strength, but his love, his pace, his plan. Meditation becomes your space to lay down your tools, unclench your jaw, and remember you are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are simply being formed. You're not asked to rush. You're asked to remain. Grace does not arrive in fanfare. It arrives in faithfulness. In the stillness where your striving stops and your spirit finally says, "Okay, God, I'm done trying to fix this myself." And that's when healing begins, not by force, but by flow. Not because you've figured it out, but because you've made room for grace to enter the places you keep patching on your own. Pope Leo XIV taught that grace does not pressure, it pours, and it pours best into the soft soil of surrender. Meditation slows your heart enough to notice where grace is already at work, quietly, deeply, patiently. You don't need to orchestrate your transformation, you need only to open. This morning, God's message is clear. Trust me, I'm working, even when you can't see it. So let grace rebuild you without your help. Let it rain on the parts of you that effort couldn't reach. And let today be proof that rest is not rebellion, it is reverence. What am I still trying to fix that God is asking me to release? How would it feel to let rest be my act of trust today? Am I willing to believe that grace is enough right now, even in this? He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness. Psalm 23:3. My grace is sufficient for thee. Psalm 17:12. It is God which worketh in you. Philippians 2:13. Place your hand over your heart. Whisper, "Grace, I give you room today." Let those words become your rhythm of release, and if they brought peace, pass it on to someone still caught in striving. Remind them, grace is already working, quietly, completely, faithfully. There's a quiet lie that healing has a deadline, that if it hasn't come by now, it may never come. But Scripture cuts through that lie like morning light. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. Psalm 91:4. God's wings have not folded. His presence has not drifted. His healing has not run dry. You may feel tired, you may feel delayed, but you are still covered. Divine power doesn't retreat when your faith feels fragile. It doesn't vanish when your hope flickers low. It remains steady, present, faithful. The wings of God aren't symbolic sentiment. They are a living shelter. They stretch wide over sleepless bodies. They hover over anxious minds. They cradle hearts that no longer know how to hope. This morning, let that truth quiet your inner storm. You are not exposed. You are enclosed. Pope Leo XIV once said, "God's wings do not wait for peace to arrive. They create it." And right now, whether you feel ready or not, those wings are surrounding you. Not just as comfort, but as healing in motion, as mercy in every breath. Meditation helps you feel what logic forgets, that the safety of God is not a concept, it's a covering, one that moves with you through disappointment, into recovery, and beyond shame. You're not being ignored because healing takes time. You're being upheld through every delay. The ache may still be present, but it has not overtaken you. That's proof. The tears may still come, but they don't wash away his promise. That's assurance. The mornings you thought you wouldn't survive, you're still here. That's grace. That's covering. And that's the miracle of Psalm 91. Not that the pain disappeared, but that you were never left alone in it. The wings didn't close when you doubted. They didn't shrink when you collapsed. They only drew closer. Let that be your peace today. The covering still holds. The healing is still coming. The wings are still spread. Right now, over you, what have I survived that reminds me I was covered all along? Can I trust that healing is still happening even when I feel nothing changing? What would change in me today if I believed I was fully wrapped in mercy? He shall cover thee with his feathers. Psalm 91:4. Under his wings shalt thou trust. Psalm 91:4. You are my hiding place. You shall preserve me from trouble. Psalm 32:7. Whisper now, your wings still cover me, Lord. I trust you here. Let that be your refuge today. If you felt held in that truth, gently pass it to someone still wondering if God sees them. Let them know the wings haven't moved. They are wide open. There are days when healing looks like movement, and others when it looks like simply not falling apart. If this morning feels heavy, if your soul is tired of trying, if you don't even have the words to explain the ache, let this be enough. You are being carried. Divine power is not dependent on your strength. It doesn't wait for you to rally. It meets you where you've run out. It lifts when you can't. Lifts when you can't. Psalm 23 does not promise a detour around the valley. It promises a presence through it. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. And when walking is too much, God carries, not as a reward for effort, but as an act of mercy. Pope Leo XIV once said, God's arms are most active when ours go limp. That's the sacred paradox of grace. It doesn't demand you keep going, it invites you to lean in, to rest, to stop bracing, and simply be held. You may not feel strong today, but your survival is not up to you. Meditation becomes the space where strength stops performing and starts receiving. You breathe, you release, you let your body admit what your spirit already knows. I can't carry this, and from that admission, divine power flows. Isaiah 46:4 offers the anchor. I will carry you, I will sustain you. Not sometimes, not if you're good enough, but always. Even in your most fragile state, God is doing the heavy lifting. The fact that you're here, reading, listening, breathing, is proof. He brought you through the night. He's bringing you through this moment. And he'll bring you through what comes next. Let that assurance wrap around you. You're not being asked to be strong. You're being asked to be still and trust that underneath it all, everlasting arms are holding every fear, every burden, every broken hope you've carried too long. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not falling apart. You're being carried. What weight have I been holding that God has already offered to carry? Can I surrender the need to hold it together and simply rest in God today? How would my day change if I fully trusted that I am not walking alone? I will carry you. I will sustain you. For thou art with me. Psalm 23:4. 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 Song 55:22. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly. As you exhale, whisper, I don't have to carry this. You are. Let that be your quiet strength today. And if this truth lifted even one corner of your heart, share it with someone silently staggering beneath invisible weight. Let them know you are being carried too. This is the sacred pause, the moment after all the tears, all the words, all the whispers of surrender. You've laid your burdens down. You've confessed your exhaustion. You've dared to be honest in the presence of God. And now, be still. Not to wait for instructions, not to rush back into doing, but to receive. Divine power doesn't wait for motion. It waits for permission. And now that you've released, heaven responds, not with pressure, but with peace. Not with demands, but with comfort. Psalm 23 speaks gently into this holy quiet. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. You're not walking into the unknown alone. You're being followed by mercy. You're being surrounded by God's message today. You're being carried by the one who promised rest for your soul. This is the rhythm of restoration. You don't leave this morning prayer with a list. You leave with a covering. You are not a spiritual project. You are a beloved presence. Psalm 91 now wraps around you like a cloak. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. And trust doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just breathes. You've been meditating on divine truth. Now let it meditate on you. Let the stillness do its healing. Let the slowness do its mending. This is not the end of your healing. It's a continuation. Every breath forward from this moment carries the residue of sacred rest. Pope Leo XIV wrote that reflection is not the closing of a chapter, but the opening of a sanctuary. And right now, your soul is that sanctuary. You are not broken, you are becoming. You are not lost, you are being led. You are not behind, you are exactly where God meets those who wait. So today, walk slowly, speak softly, love gently, and remember, healing does not always arrive with fire. Sometimes it arrives with a whisper, and that whisper is already within you. Whisper this final prayer: God, thank you for healing me gently. Then sit in silence for one more breath. Don't rush. Let peace linger. And when you rise, rise slowly, as one already being restored. If this prayer held you, let it hold someone else too. Share it with love. Healing continues.